Now, I believe. Hello, everyone. We are good to go. And we are joined by the man called Ian, Black Cat Collector, and the host of the real Marvel collecting podcast, not the fake one that I have. Ian, introduce yourself if you can, please, sir.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Ian Taylor. I am a fellow countryman of yours from the UK, and I'm the co-host of the Marvel Card Collectors podcast at the MCC Pod, and I run a couple of other Instagram feeds as well at Black Cat Collector, which I don't update as much as I should, which is all about my collection, and at Collectors, which is focusing on Marvel masterpieces.
Beautiful.
So to highlight those series.
Thank you very much. So the first question I had on the back of that was Black Cat. So I've heard your podcast, so I kind of know the backstory around why you collect Black Cat. But if you could you let me know how you got into collecting that, really?
Yeah, I was. Funnily enough, I was doing a questionnaire for someone who's doing a print book that was asking me just this question the other day, and the origins of it go back to in the UK. We didn't get, and we don't get, the American comics over here in stores. I mean, we used to back in the 80s to a limited degree. They'd be in newsagents, and they'd be a few months behind. But and then in the 80s, Marvel UK, which was still up and running, used to do a reprint title, Spider-Man and Zoids, it was called. Did you ever? You're probably too young to remember this, but Spider-Man and Zoids was brilliant. And anyway, that was my first kind of experience of Black Cat. Yes. And then fast forward to 2008, 2009, and I'd gotten into Marvel cards in a big way with Marvel Masterpieces 2007 and 2008.
Yeah.
And then in 2009, I discovered that sketch cards were a thing. And then I very quickly discovered that there were sketch cards of Black Cat. I can't remember. It might have been that I just happened to look at sketch cards on eBay, and the first ones I saw were Black Cat. Who knows? I mean, I could have been a Magneto collector if the first ones I've seen had been Magneto. Yeah. But I just kind of made the connection. I just started getting my sketch cards of her, and that was it. Game on. And then what 12, 13 years on now. I went deep on sketch cards, but now it's less about the sketch cards and more about the there's so many limited, like, numbered parallels and printing plates and one of ones and things like that. So that's kind of where I am now, and it's I blew the doors off a little bit, shall we say?
Great. And where did you? Also, I've met Noran now. Spent some time with him now. That was great. And where did you two meet? I'm assuming you met through your Facebook page.
Yeah.
Like that. But how did you meet, and how did the podcast come about that you've got?
Well, our eyes met across a crowded Facebook page. So I started the main Facebook group that I set up 3 years ago this week, and so I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory on that because it kind of explains how Norrin came into it. So I set that up largely because, being in the UK, and I'm sure you get this as well, where you're looking through Facebook groups have kind of overtaken the more established forums. Like there used to be Scoundrel, Blowout's still a thing, but that kind of format structure, Facebook has taken a lot of that real estate, so it's easier for people to be on Facebook now and do that. So and a lot of those groups, I've been scrolling through and I'd be like, I see stuff I want, and people would be like, I'm sorry, US shipping only, continental US shipping only. It's just like, I was just like a bit okay, fine, thank you. Being in the UK, that's limiting, and I kind of figured that the hobby's bigger than that. There are people literally all over the world who are into these cards, but they are an American product, so I get it. So partly because of that, and partly because I saw that a lot of the groups were just a bit, for want of a better word, rude in a lot of aspects. I mean, that's the trouble with Facebook and a lot of places on the internet, is everyone gets big boy underpants and thinks they can type whatever they want to anyone else. So I saw people who come into some of these groups who were new, who would be asking genuine questions and would be completely cut down and trolled, and I just thought, there's got to be a better way of doing this. So I set up a group that's now Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, the emphasis on the worldwide. The idea being that if you're in there, you need to be able to trade. If you want to trade and sell, you have to be willing to do so cross-border.
Yeah.
So that's the first part of it, and the second part of it was just to be a little bit more of a respectful space. And I think it's testament to the fact that we're over almost 2,500 members. There's a lot of creators in there, including the big creators. Just goes in there. Dave Palumbo's recently joined, and as well as that, you've got a lot of sketch artists and people from the card companies. So it's quite a good sort of symbiosis. Norrin came in to the second group I set up, which was a few months after the first one, which was solely focused on Marvel Masterpieces.
Yeah,
which is kind of my main core set, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors, and he came into that, and then the other group, because he was, I think he's told you this himself, he was very much realized that if you want to go after certain pieces, you can't be insular about it, and you've got to look kind of outside the existing territory that you might be in, because he quite rightly realised that there were collectors in New Zealand who had pieces that he needed for his Silver Surfer collection. There were collectors in Europe, there were collectors in South America, there were collectors in Canada, which a lot of people in America weren't shipped to, so which I don't quite get because it's in the same landmass. Anyway, and and he was passionate about it, and we got talking, and he helped out with some of the group like artwork and stuff like that. And then I said, listen, this thing's starting to get some traction. Do you want to come on as an admin with me? So he did, and then we created the visual identity that we have now. We kind of created that together, and then I guess the podcast, I'd always wanted to do a podcast. I was thinking about doing one with another friend in the UK for a few years, which never happened. And I was kind of itching to do one. And then I suggested to Norrin that we do one. And then I went away and I kind of researched, microphones and software to use, because it's pretty difficult for me to record in the nature of UK houses in the evening, with a very young child in the house, because you're going to wake her up. So I had to figure out, what I can do with the phone. Can I create a podcast on the phone? Can I edit a podcast on the phone? Very quickly, I realized that you can do a lot of it on the phone, but you can't do all of it on the phone. Yeah. But I did found a pretty good platform called Anchor, which is what we use, where you could actually create everything in the app if you wanted to. But then we sat down and we started recording. We just recorded about 4 over a 2-week period. We didn't release any. And then, in the process of doing this, realised that there aren't actually any other podcasts out there. You can throw a rock and you can hit a sports card podcast. Especially in America and Canada. The number of and live streams like this, on Twitch or whatever. And they are plentiful, and lots of people talking about that side of the hobby. Yeah. Very, very few talking about Marvel cards. In fact, none talking about Marvel cards. In fact, there used to be one called more generally about non-sports, which was, funny enough, another guy in the UK. I think it was called Cardcast. A guy called Paul Bynes ran that, but I don't know if he's that active anymore in actually producing it. And I'm going back 6, 7, 8 years now that he started that. So I kind of thought, what? Let's just do it. Let's talk about things that we want to talk about. Let's talk about the hobby. Let's talk about people in the group. Let's find out if we can interview people. And we started, and people seem to dig it, and we're 92 episodes in.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah,
it is crazy. Yeah, absolutely bonkers.
Flies by. One thing I would say, you've definitely got the voice. Like, if there's ever a thing called a radio voice or podcast,
bless you, darling. Bless you, darling. He's got a good face for radio. He's got a good voice.
yeah, that's what my friends have started saying that to me. Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Really appreciate it. Great. So there's a couple of people in the chat which I should just mention if that's all right.
Okay. I can't see it from here.
No,
I can just,
I don't know how I can show it, but
no.
So Venomous Comics and Spidey Jew 09, which I believe has his own YouTube channel. So that's interesting. Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming on here. So my next question, if possible, what cards do you have? And are you obviously you're a Black Cat collector, but
yeah,
are you literally all the Marvel masterpieces? Are you?
Can I angle that down? You can see behind the top of my shelving unit. So here we've got that's masterpieces 2016. That's 2018.
Yeah.
These ones that I'm just starting to upgrade from that side are 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 2007, but they're out of stock of that color binder. Then I've got two more shelves below that, which have got a few Rittenhouse sets, Marvel Flair, Fleer Ultra Spider-Man, Fleer Ultra X-Men. Then I've got loads of generic binders and binders. I tend to use, and this is too full, this one actually, I've started to use these, which are Marvel Fact Files binders.
Yeah, seen those.
And Marvel Fact Files you'll be familiar with because it was released in the UK. It's no longer running.
Yeah.
It's a part work, but the binders are actually quite good because they've got 3D rings in them.
Yeah.
This binder is over full. Kids, don't do this. It's got Marvel Annual in it. So for a lot of the sets that don't have binders, excuse me, I use that. I use those. I tend to use something different for my Black Cats, but yeah. So that's the thing. I've always got. None of these are finished, apart from maybe two. Yeah. I'm constantly nibbling away. I'm that kind of collector.
Yeah.
I'm trying to chase everything at once and doing a really bad job.
Yeah.
But yeah, and loads. And I've got some stuff down here. I've got my Marvel Beginnings down there. I've got Masterpieces 08 down there because I'm waiting for some more of those binders. So yeah, I've got stuff all over. And then on the other side, I've got about 10 long boxes of comics.
Wow. Okay.
Plus my retro video game collection behind me. So,
yeah. Really interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of retro games are you talking about?
Oh, well, this is where I kind of took the template for the group from. Is that I used to be in fact, I still am, but I'm not active in them anymore. A lot of the retro game collecting groups in the UK, and a lot of the way they run, I took for the groups that I set up. But yeah, mainly Sega. It's one of these things. You're either Marvel or DC. A lot of people are. It's the same with games. You're either Sega or Nintendo. Yeah. Now I'm looking at you, and I've got a dirty suspicion that you're a Nintendo boy. Am I
Correct.
I knew it. I'm a Sega.
Correct. Yeah,
I'm a Sega boy.
That's purely because of the time I was brought up, I think.
Well, at the time I was brought up, it was actually Amstrad CPC 464 on cassette was my first system, which ages me terribly. But no, Sega Mega Drive. I think there were about 500 PAL titles for that. It was called Sega Genesis in the States. But UK system titles about 500. I got up to about 285 of them before I bailed on it, and that takes up a lot of space. I've trimmed it back to about 40 now, and I'm in the process of doing the same with my PS1, my PS2, and my PS3.
Oh, wow.
And I'm about to sell about 70% of my collection.
Okay, interesting.
And I'm going to keep just the stuff because it got to a point where I was buying almost everything that moved.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And stuff that I've never heard of, and I've to this day I've never played. For example, I can turn around here, and I can pick up the PlayStation 2 game Demon Stone. It looks great, and I'm sure it's fantastic. I've never played this, and I've got a 5-year-old. I won't play this anytime soon. So so I might as well pass it on.
That's right.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'm playing Nintendo Mario Kart with my 4-year-old. Consistently every day at the moment, so that's what I'm kind of
That's parenting done right.
Yeah, nostalgic vibes over.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's 5 and she's discovered Crash Bandicoot.
Yes. Yeah.
But she can't operate joypads.
Yeah.
She can't figure out that she's got to do something at the same time as something else.
Yeah.
So I say, well, you've got to run and you've got to jump. So she just does the run thing and it just falls into the trap.
Yeah.
And dead.
It's quite frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah. She'll get it.
So the next question I had was, how do you feel about, and this is a big thing at the moment, the way the hobby or Marvel cards are at the moment, graded cards. I know you've had guests like the Graded Gamer,
yeah,
the podcast and things like that. But being a longer life collector of Marvel cards,
yeah, still here.
How is that? Where do you see it going? And is there a bit of stigma around, especially in your groups, around graded cards?
Well, here's the thing. I completely understand why grading comics is polarizing.
Yeah,
I get that because he says his most recent post on Instagram showing off a graded comic because I'm a reader, so I'm not one who acquires comics to slab them. I need to be able to read my comics, and that's why I buy them. I like to smell the comics, especially the older ones, which sounds a bit dirty, but there you go. But with cards, I completely get it because you just look at the front and the back. Have you been joined? Have you got a guest on your? Have you got a guest on your end?
I have a guest. Yeah. Come on, say hello. Say hello. Say hello.
Hello. How are you?
He's a star.
Ah.
Guess what is my face?
2 seconds, mate. All right.
Oh,
okay.
Fire is on my face and I didn't even move.
Right, sorry about that.
Did he hear the mention of Mario Kart?
Yes.
Yeah. But cards, I completely get it. I get, it's front and back, and that's it. And cards, generally speaking, don't display well for me. They're kind of things that live in binders, and I'm in a loft room, so I wouldn't have cards on display anyway because UV and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Grading cards. Once someone kind of pointed out that rather simple. Okay, yeah, I'll get it with comics, but with cards, it's just the front and the back, and that's kind of it. And I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So I don't have an issue whatsoever with people wanting to grade cards. Sketch cards is slightly different. I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But so and I've got 3 graded cards here, all of which care of the Graded Gamer, Amanda Z, who's a good friend, lovely lady, and she's hooked me up with. Well, this was the first one that she hooked me up with, which I just loved the image, which was an X-Men Archives checklist.
Nice.
So it didn't come out very well there, but anyway, and I just really dug it. And she was like, so she sent it to me, and in there was a surprise. And she gifted me this, and she said, I can't have your first graded card being a 9. So she sent me that.
Oh, wow.
Which is cool. Absolutely incredible. And it's brilliant. It's beautiful. It's one of my favourite black cats. It's by Nelson.
That is cool.
It's from Masterpieces 95. And I subsequently bought another one. I can't remember if I got it from Amanda or someone else, which isn't necessarily the best or most Me Too card, but it's the swimsuit Woman of Marvel. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of got bubbles. Yeah. There's a brilliant little chase set. Anyway, that's it. That's my graded card collection, and I'm quite happy with that. But obviously, you're talking about the fact that in the last kind of 6 months or so, it's gone a bit bonkers with people acquiring older sets specifically to grade. And you know what? If people want to do that, absolutely fine. I don't have an issue with it whatsoever. And even if I had an issue with it, it doesn't change anything. So what's the point? I guess the interesting thing for me is the fact that a lot of people are doing it who have no skin in the game with Marvel cards. So, you know, it could be a Marvel card, it could be a used bus ticket. It's the fact that it is the next thing that people have moved on to doing, and it's cyclical. You know, the majority of the market will then move on. You know, and a lot of that is from the sports side. It's a perfect storm of circumstances where the last 12 to 15 months of COVID has caused a boom in the hobby, just generally, as you can see from just raw product having a scarcity in terms of the stores in America imposing limits and, you know, and things like that, and people queuing to get restocks at Target and Walmart and things like that, which we've seen. So people have just been getting into wax, and because the new product is either slower to come out or more difficult to get or actually going up in price, a lot of people are going for the old wax, or I've seen it referred to as junk wax, you know, boxes and products that were overlooked, underwhelming for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people who come from the sports side who literally treat card grading and players and you know, that sort of thing as commodity and investment stuff, which I get. I completely get that, because that's kind of how that side of the business works, and it is a business. You know, it is. I think Noah and I were talking about it on an episode we haven't had come out yet. It is because of the fact, you know, people bet on horses. It's that performance-based thing. You know, a player's fortunes can change overnight. You know, when you have someone who has a really, really good weekend in sport. You know, Patrick Mahomes is a prime example. You know, his cards gone. And you know, Tom Brady's have always been up there, but especially so now. But you know, it's spotting that next thing. It's like, you know, what should I be focusing on? What should I be doing? And part of that process has always been grading for that side of the hobby, but less so for Marvel cards. Well, that's no longer the case, and that's not going to change anytime soon. You know, that's going to carry on. I think there'll be an interesting. Be interesting to see what the market does when cards start coming back, because a lot of people have sent stuff in, PSA and the likes, and not a lot of stuff has come back yet. So that'll be interesting, because there will be a change in the number of cards in the market, and at the moment, a lot of it is supply and demand.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm thinking November, December is when it's likely to change. And we'll see what the new highs and, you know, the lows are. But
and the world will end, and you know, by January people will be in cardboard boxes and eating noodles. So, you know,
correct.
Cool. Anyone, I mean, the one interesting thing about this is that a lot of people have realised very fast that just because it's packed fresh doesn't mean to say it's going to be a high grade card. In fact, again, not to spoil an episode we've yet to release, I opened a pack, a 90s pack that I had sat around that someone had sent me in a trade and just threw in it as a freebie, and I opened it last weekend, and every single card was stuck together. The pack was so, you know, so you can listen out for the sound of us peeling 90s cards apart, which is a horrendous sound.
Isn't it?
You know it, So sorry, I think I can't remember what the original question was now, but that's a long answer.
No, that's great. No, you're spot on. Absolutely spot on. And in your opinion, is there an underrated Marvel set that you think doesn't get the love it deserves, or is kind of so scarce that you never see it, which is a lot of things that I'm trying to look for, I can't find. But
I mean, a lot of people are going for the older stuff, which is great, and it's lovely, but there's some much more recent stuff that I think people are missing. At this point, I'm duty bound to not say anything, because they're the ones I want to get before I say anything. No, I'm kidding. I think one of it's the way it is. I think there was a series, Marvel first issue covers, that came out in 80. I want to say 84. And that's actually pretty plentiful. But I think the one that's really overlooked is its sequel that came out in 91. I think that was a Comic Images set. And that had much more the more modern bronze and kind of Copper Age first issues. And it literally is first issue covers. And I'm trying to think if I've got it anywhere near to hand. It's in one of these binders. I haven't got a clue which binder it's in, so I'm not even going to go there. But effectively speaking, it's the front issue of the cover. And I think both of those sets, but I think the second set is seriously off people's radar. It's got New Mutants issue 1 front cover in it. It's got Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man from 76, that first issue cover in. It's got the first set focused very much on the Silver Age first issues. This one was 70s, 80s, up until that point. So there's some books in there you think, I've completely forgotten that book existed. So there's some deep cut stuff. But I think that one is, whether anyone will go for it, I don't know. But I think it's an underrated set. I think probably the other one that if PMGs are to go by, Precious Metal Gems, I think Marvel Gems, which is 2015.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're really
Marvel
right.
Gems. I think there are elements of Marvel Beginnings that will go, and I think that although there were a lot of them produced, I think Masterpieces 07, there are some components of that set. I'm contractually bound to say that because it's my favourite set. It's the one that got me started again, and that set I have actually completed. There's a lot of hologram promos and things from the 90s. There's a Chef Boyardee set. Funnily enough, I just got it the other week. This is a beautiful set. It's four holograms, and holograms all the rage. And this you could Chef Boyardee is canned pasta.
Yes. I need to.
So there we go. And they are absolutely gorgeous, and they are, I think there's a set of 4 of them. Some of them are a bit like Who's That, and this is Exodus. Those 90s X-Men that you don't know, but they are. I mean, look at that. That's up there with the
cool card,
Marvel Universe ones. Strife.
Wow.
Which is exactly what the wife will give me if I'm up here too long. And Mr. Sinister, who's having a bit of a resurgence with the Dawn of X, House of X. House of X series that's going on at the moment. So I think there's a lot of promo stuff from the 90s, especially this hologram set, that was genuinely quite difficult to get in decent condition.
That's the key bit, isn't it?
Because of the nature of its distribution. So I think those will probably, because the thing is, Marvel Universe 1990, although I'm sure that supplies are starting to dry up with the sealed boxes, I think you'll be surprised. I think they'll be on tap for a few years yet. There were so many made. I mean, hundreds of thousands of boxes. Masterpieces 92 had 350,000 boxes made. There's a lot of product out there. So
you are right.
What about you? What do you think is going to be next? What do you think will be next?
I really couldn't tell. I think sketch cards are really, really interesting. I haven't deep dived into it yet. I don't have anything yet, but I'm really looking at certain characters and thinking, that's very cool. But I'm big on overpower. I've said this before.
You have mentioned that, yeah.
I think we'll see how that pans out. Again, there's not a huge amount of supply there. In terms of sealed, I mean, there are people holding, in binders and etc. The ones I have are in binders. I think they've got legs, as I like to say.
That sounds like that old ZZ Top song. She's got legs and she knows how to use them.
I have no idea where I've got that expression.
They wouldn't get away with that these days.
That's right. The thing is, there's so many places that could be next, but the serial and autos and those kinds of things, they're very interesting to me. So I'm just trying to build up some bankroll and.
Yeah, they're a very recent thing, and the irony about those is that even without grading, there's already a premium to them because of the nature of what they are.
Exactly.
The other irony, I'm sure Amanda's mentioned this to you, is that they tend to be on thicker stock and they don't grade very well.
Yeah.
At all. So the norm on these newer sets isn't a 10. So, expectations wise, if you're going to bust a masterpieces 2016, 2018, 2020, out of the pack, chances are you're not going to get many 10s, if any at all. So, I think there's a case of managing expectations on these. You need to know where the level is likely to be if you're going to be breaking a product to do that, which I don't do. It's not my thing. I acquire cards. I acquire cards to collect. And I think one of the from someone who there's a couple of people in the hobby who are the exact opposite of this spectrum to me, where they literally don't understand why you wouldn't acquire cards that would accrue value.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just in it for the cards. So, the only reason I've got these is because, I would like to be able to display my black cat stuff, and this displays beautifully. If these are the only two I ever have, I'll be happy with that. I'm not going to cry over the fact I've got to pay 10 times more to get them now. But one thing I don't quite get is sketch cards grading. It's like sketch cards by their nature have been handled.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. And this is where people get oddly upset. We had a post on the group last week, actually, where I had to actually delete a couple of comments because it's like,
really?
It's the end of the day, it's cardboard. Calm. Can I swear on your feed? Is that right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, your little one's nowhere. Your little one's nowhere near, is he? It's like calm the fuck down. It's a card. It's not a kidney.
Absolutely.
But people do go absolutely bonkers over it. But I personally don't think that grading a sketch card there's any point to it. Personally, I just think it's and this. I mean, a GMA I've never heard of. I mean, I bought this card because it was.
Don't discuss that with me.
Yeah, and I will be cracking it. So I've no idea if a 6 is a good thing on their spectrum. But if that's out of 10, I'm not surprised because a sketch card, by its very nature, won't have perfect edges.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
And all the stuff that they use to grade things with. So, I don't know.
Okay. Someone's just said, Venomous Comics has said the Dangerous Divas series only had 8,000 boxes made. I don't know anything about that set or series.
Yeah, it's a Rittenhouse set. It's a Rittenhouse set.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't say. I guess the thing is, I mean, a lot of those Rittenhouse sets only had, 8, 7, 6,000 boxes made, and that's kind of par for the course. It's only with the 90s ones, and I'm talking kind of before 95 that went into the 6 figures in terms of numbers of boxes made. I don't think the number of boxes made is any marker of how desirable it is. And in fact, Marvel Universe 90 with like 6 figures numbers of boxes out there is kind of tells you the opposite.
Exactly.
I think it's just the age of it. Dangerous Divas is a nice set. It's got some decent cards in it, but it is designed to be a puzzle set. The main set is designed as a puzzle. I mean, it's 3 card as it goes along, and then the back of it makes a 9 card picture.
Yeah.
So as individual cards, you've got to think about the about how it presents. does it present well as an individual piece that someone who might not be looking for dangerous divas would necessarily need to go for? So, there may be an element of it to characters and some of the chase cards, perhaps. But yeah, I don't think the number of boxes is necessarily a marker on whether or not something will catch fire if you're going to be going after its grade.
You're right. And I'll use the reference to sports card world. Like, if you look at Zion Williamson, who's, a rookie a couple of years ago, he's got his rookie card, his Prism rookie card is like, you were talking in terms of graded 15,000 plus.
Yeah.
Just for a PSA 9 or a 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
But the supply's there and the demand's there, sorry. So, yeah, the boxes thing is a bit of a hard to tell.
I don't know. Maybe in a year's time, I'll be eating my hat over that. But who's to know? If I had a crystal ball, then we'd all be sitting on a lot more money.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. What was your favourite Marvel movie?
Movie?
Yeah. I'm a movie guy, so that's my
No, so am I. Big time. Can I, before I go to there, can I tell you what my favourite comic book movie is?
I had that as the next question, so yeah, sure.
Unbreakable.
Okay.
Unbreakable, I think, for me the best movie about comic book superheroes and comic book, just the whole ethos of it. I just think it's perfectly pitched.
Yeah.
It is underplayed, actually. It's very much a non-Bruce Willis performance at a time when he was just doing Bruce Willis performances.
Yeah.
Very much Samuel L. Jackson very much keeps it on the DL throughout most of it, and it's a beautifully takes its time, tells its story, brilliant payoff.
Yeah,
love it.
The other ones, you got Unbreakable. What's the other one?
He did a sequel to it 2 years ago called Mr. Glass.
Yeah, that was
which was fine for the first 2/3 and then just went off a cliff for the last act.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It just annoyed me, which is a shame because I loved the one that McAvoy's character came in from. I can't remember the name of that movie off the top of my head, but Marvel movie. That's a tough one. I might go with it at the moment, and this will change. I wasn't expecting this question. I might go with Infinity War in terms of the MCU stuff at the moment. But I'm a big. I love the original X-Men trilogy, especially X-Men and X2, the Bryan Singer ones. X2, when it came out, was just like, wow. Properly OMG.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of the folks over at Marvel and Kevin Feige were looking at that and thinking, yeah, we want a piece of that action.
Yeah.
Because they just pulled it off. They absolutely pulled it off.
Yeah.
I think the X-Men movies since have been trying to recapture how good that was and just not quite do it. Days of Future Past, they kind of got there with.
Yeah. Just watch that one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant film. But of the MCU ones, there's a lot I need to rewatch. Actually, I still haven't seen Ant-Man and Wasp. I need to rewatch Doctor Strange because I've been really getting into the cards. So I need to rewatch that. Endgame I need to rewatch as well. And I'm loving the Disney Plus series.
Yeah. Me too.
I haven't finished Falcon and Winter Soldier. I've got that episode to watch yet.
Okay.
That last episode.
I won't say anything too much.
No spoilers. But WandaVision, I think, was absolutely astonishing.
Excuse me.
That's all right. Someone at your door. Someone at the front door.
No, it's my. We're making banana loaf. So.
Oh, okay. Lovely stuff. All right. Well, save some for me. Do you need to take it out of the oven?
No, it's all good.
Okay, good. WandaVision I thought was absolutely superb, and this is like it's MCU storytelling over a 6 to 8 hour canvas. It's beautifully pitched. Yeah, wonderfully done.
Yeah, I'd agree. I've really enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier. Though for me, that's been better than WandaVision for me. But so good. The series. Loki's coming out in June. Which is going to be interesting. So, I'm absolutely loving the series in that format. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah. Now, let's face it, we can't go to the cinema, so they must have had a crystal ball.
Yeah. Very clever.
Well, the thing is, I mean, how lucky are they that they decided to do this?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I think they had a little bit of trouble with production on some of them as a result. But how bizarrely prescient is that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of hype though around it, which is good. In terms of future movies, is there one that you're really excited to watch?
I think Thor 4. I know why they didn't call it that now, because it's difficult to say. I think the new Thor movie will be brilliant. I think Hemsworth is perfect in that role.
Yeah, he's great.
And with Taika Waititi doing it, I don't think they can go far wrong.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Ruffalo do a solo Hulk movie. I really do, especially with his Endgame incarnation of that character. But I'm trying to think what else is coming up. I have to say I'm not blown away by the Shang-Chi trailer.
Yeah,
I never read the comic, so I just don't get it. It just
it is slightly strange. I did a video on I think one of his cards might, like a rookie card, will increase in value. So that's one video I did. But it looks good, but it is a strange. It
looks
one.
good. It doesn't look Marvel to me. I think that's the thing.
I would agree,
just not. And here's another thing. They're not rookie cards. If anything, they're first appearances. Rookies is sports.
Correct. I did distinguish that.
There's one thing that grinds my gears is rookie cards in Marvel cards. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, that's not a rookie card.
I apologise.
No, it's right.
The last question I had.
Ooh.
It's two questions, but
that's what you're allowed.
Do you think there is in the future? Do you think there's a really good scope for Marvel cards? So, with like new releases coming out and things like that, is that something you're following or interested in? I'm not, so I don't know anything.
Yeah, constantly. I mean, our group and our podcast is for all Marvel cards, be it 90s, noughties, 10s, or whatever this decade, 20s, I guess. It's for all Marvel cards. So we talk about the new releases on e-packs, the ones that are e-pack exclusives. We talk about the older sets. In fact, most of the time we tend to talk about the newer sets because we're blessed in that Upper Deck have kind of made the connection with us. So we often have guests from Upper Deck on talking about new sets. So you want to be listening to this week's episode, which will drop on Thursday, episode 92 it will be, because it is about the big new release that's about to happen, focusing on the MCU movies. So and that's interviewing someone at Upper Deck. Again, so we've been quite blessed in that way. I guess there's a perspective of are you talking about for collectability or for investment? I certainly don't look at any of them in terms of investment. I mean, I think there are cards where there's a bizarre perception. Funny enough, I was talking to someone at Upper Deck about this off the record, and they found it interesting that people buy boxes now, both in sports and non-sports, with an expectation that the contents will be worth more than they spent on the box.
Yeah,
I find that quite interesting, and I find it quite. I don't get it.
No,
that people go and rant on, and I've seen this happen with Masterpieces 2020. It's like, is it worth me buying a box? Like, well, what do you mean? Is it worth it? It's like, if you want to open a box and own some beautiful cards, then absolutely yes. Yeah. If you want to buy that box at, say, I mean, if you're lucky enough to get it for $250 when it came out, and you think you're going to be able to get $400 by selling the cards in it, I can't answer that question because it's like that's not the reason I ever acquire a box of cards, exactly. or even a pack if it's e-pack. That said, I've been lucky enough to buy packs on e-pack and in a single pack get a red flasher, which is a hit, and getting a single pack red flasher and then being able to turn it around or sell it within 24 hours for a decent trade or a decent thing, because I knew it wasn't something I personally collected.
Yeah.
That's a very dangerous system, because people will only show off their hits. We have that in the group, and we have to regularly remind people that people will post wherever they spent $10 on a pack and got a card that they immediately were able to sell for 300 every day of the week. What people don't post are the 20 packs they bought between those 2 packs where they got nothing in terms of that kind of avenue of resale value. For me, I'm value and worth are 2 things I separate. People say, is there any value in these? And they'll post a picture of some 90 cards, and it says, well, value is subjective.
Exactly.
What value does it have for you?
Exactly.
Worth on the market is a different thing.
Yeah, that's right. And there's sets. I have a couple completed sets now, which I would never let go of. Because I like them.
I'm saying
yes, I am doing investment on other cards, but that's just you're spot on there.
And some people do that to fund the other stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
I kind of think of it like an actor who does a blockbuster movie, and then does 2 indie art house ones, because they say, the mantra goes, 1 for them, 2 for me.
Yeah.
That's
exactly right. Yeah. You mentioned it just then. E-packs. It's Upper Deck, isn't it?
Yeah.
So on their website. So is it? I hadn't done much research on it at all. So is it a virtual card, or is it a physical card that you get?
The latter for the most part. People often, because Topps have got a very successful platform that is just digital, and people go nuts for it, and people spend money on it, which is their prerogative. But I think it's absolutely bonkers, because you won't actually own what it is. You don't own it. I think in the terms of contract, if that system ever went, then cards that people have spent tens of thousands of dollars on are gone. Like that. EPAC, effectively speaking, what Upper Deck did with EPAC is they built a system whereby they could still make, let's just say for the sake of argument, that it's 10,000 boxes of cards. They could still make the cards for that product run of 10,000 boxes, and only half of them they'd need to actually make the boxes and the actual packs for and ship off to stores. The other half they just send to the warehouse and scan them in and put them on EPAC, and then they sell it virtually. So it's like any online shopping, but you actually open it within that platform. Some products are a mixture of digital and physical cards. Some products are physical cards only, and the price point generally reflects what you'll get. Every digital card on the platform, however, is a stepping stone to a physical card that you can have mailed to you. So an example would be, I'm just trying to think, recently Marvel anime, I think you needed anime, I think they priced too high for a product that had so much digital in. But if you got 5 copies of the same digital card, say card number 1, which I think is Captain Marvel off the top of my head, if you got 5 copies of that, you could then combine it on the system. Those 5 digital cards disappear from your inventory and are replaced by a physical parallel version of that card that you can only get via the EPAC platform.
Okay, wow.
So the flip side of that is that the base cards that are digital in EPAC, you can only get the physical versions of those by buying the physical boxes that went to distributors. So it's kind of like they force the collector to engage in both worlds by doing that. So if you're someone who builds a modern set, and the modern sets aren't small by any stretch of the imagination, and you like to go for all the parallels, so you like to go for the physical base, you like to go for this parallel, that parallel, whatever the parallels are, and you like to do all those, then you'll be forced to engage with the EPAC system at some point, or at the very least buy them from people who have.
Okay. Makes sense.
So that's generally the way it works. But I mean, the other side of it, of course, is that once it's on that platform, unless you kind of lock it away, because you can lock the cards, a little padlock thing next to it, it's available for anyone else on that platform to see, and then you can trade between accounts. And at any point, you can then choose to have the cards shipped to you or put on ComC and then sold.
Interesting.
So that's how it works.
Okay.
Danger of it is it's easy to get carried away. With every
Yeah.
card that you have physically, you want to take out of e-packs, you pay 25% per card, which is fine if you've only got like 10 sketch cards. If you've got 3,000 cards,
Yeah.
like me, it gets pretty pricey. It gets pretty pricey. So, a lot of my collection is still sat on e-pack because I simply can't afford to ship it, and their shipping is a complete mess at the moment.
Yeah.
It's a complete hot mess. So I'm not sure I'd even want to try.
Okay.
Even if I had the money.
Awesome. Thanks for that. That's great. I will definitely. I've got an account with Upper Deck, so I'll see what I can do with that shortly. So thank you very much.
We did do. Although they subsequently redesigned the entire site, so it looks completely different now. But we did do last year some e-pack 101 episodes. The first one was audio only. The second one we did is audio and video. So it's on our YouTube channel that we don't really update that much just because of time. But which was kind of a walkthrough of how it works. So all the functionality that we talk about and the ethos and the way it works is still the same. It's just they've redesigned the site. So, all the functionality, basically, they just gave it a polish and redesigned the way that it looks, but everything on there is the same. So if you want to check that out.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely. Thanks very much for that. I really appreciate it. Right, I think we are done. I really appreciate your time. It's coming up to an hour.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Thank you very much for jumping on with me today, and we'll have a chat out of the
yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, really appreciate your time, Ian. Thank you very much for jumping on today.
No, right. No, thank you. You're welcome.
We'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching, guys.